Hey guys, in today's video I've got a special treat. I think I say that every time, but all the food is honestly just that good. Today it is another variation of fathead dough, but instead of a savory treat, we're going to use it to make something sweet. And in fact, we're going to use it to make something for breakfast for all you guys that are getting tired of eating eggs and bacon for breakfast. Today I'm going to show you how to make Keto Cinnamon Rolls. So before we get started, let's go check out that ingredient list. All right, the ingredients start out just like your regular fathead dough recipe. And that's going to be mozzarella cheese and almond flour. But this is where it's going to start deviating a little bit from the normal fathead dough that I use. It's also going to include coconut flour, butter instead of cream cheese. It's going to include some powdered sweetener. I use the Swerve brand, vanilla extract, and then like the regular recipe, we have an egg, we have some salt, and we've got some baking powder. Once that's mixed up, we need to actually do the filling of the cinnamon roll, and that is simply going to be more butter. And then I'm going to mix up 2 tablespoons each of cinnamon powder in the granulated Swerve. And then while that's baking, then we're making the icing. And the icing is going to bring in the cream cheese, a little bit of almond milk, and of course, more sweetener. All right guys, I'm going to start making this, and to get started, we're going to melt together the mozzarella cheese and 5 tablespoons of butter. Now the recipe calls for 6 ounces of mozzarella cheese, and instead of trying to measure this out in cups, I do have my food scale here. I spent like $10 on Amazon for this, and if I think about it, I'll try to remember to link it below in the description box. So I'm going to use that to actually measure out the amount of cheese that I need for this recipe. So again, 6 ounces. 2, almost 5, right at 6. And I'm going to need 5 tablespoons of butter. All right, I'm going to bring you guys in for a closer look on the stovetop as we start to melt the butter and cheese together. So this, I just put it in the pan. Again, I've got 6 ounces of mozzarella. I've got 5 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to let this get to the point where I can stir the butter and the mozzarella cheese together, and then we will move on to adding the other dry ingredients. All right guys, this is looking really good. This cheese is very gooey. The butter and the cheese is mixed well together. There's still a little bit of separation, but that's going to resolve itself when we start adding in our almond flour and our coconut flour. So let's head over to the island and we will start adding in the dry ingredients. All right, we're ready for the dry ingredients, and that's going to call for a 1/2 cup of almond flour, a 1/4 cup of coconut flour, a 1/4 cup of powdered Swerve, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and now we're just going to start to work this together inside the same saucepan that I used on the oven. And you'll see again, especially the coconut flour, because the coconut flour is very absorbent. It's going to start soaking up that butter, and it's going to start mixing really well with that mozzarella cheese. Now we need to add the vanilla extract and the egg. So vanilla extract, it's maybe a teaspoon worth of vanilla extract. And then the egg, you want to work in pretty quickly because you don't want the egg to cook. You want it to mix with the dough. And again, I'm going to do most of the mixing in this pot, but here in a minute, I'm going to need to get my hands dirty, and we're going to pull this out and put it on parchment paper, and I'll use my hands to finish mixing the dough. All right, now this comes the ooey gooey sticky part, because we really need to get our hands dirty on this one to make sure that the dough is fully cohesive, that everything is mixed really well together, because we don't want anything falling apart or just not coming together well. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to get this into about a 12 by 12 inch square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this out between two pieces of parchment paper after I wash my hands. Okay, so the dough is ready, it's laid out. It's not a perfect square, but you know, you do the best you can. But before we get to putting the filling on the dough, I did want to show you a little neat trick that I learned. So I have a round cake pan that we'll be putting these cinnamon rolls in, and I need to line it with parchment paper. So, but of course, parchment paper doesn't come in a nice pretty circle. So what you do is you'll take a square piece of parchment paper, and then just like if you remember when you were a kid cutting out snowflakes, it's going to be the exact same concept. So you're just going to keep folding this up into this triangle. And once you get it all the way folded, you know, about that, you're going to basically figure out the middle. And then from the middle, you'll cut off the edge. And then when you unfold it, it'll fit perfectly in your round cake pan as a circle. See, like that. And it fits in there perfectly. I am going to just spritz the bottom of it so the parchment paper sticks a little bit better. But as you can see, a nice round lining for my round cake pan. Okay, so now on to the dough, and I'm going to bring you in for a closer look again on this. All right, so I've got 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and I am just going to paint the butter onto the dough like this. And you'll want to use all the butter. And then as you see here, I've already mixed up my sugar and cinnamon, my ground cinnamon, so that way I get a good, nice, even distribution of both of these. And I'm just going to spread this fairly liberally over this whole thing. I know some recipes I've seen have called for less cinnamon, and my husband always says there's not enough cinnamon, so I really upped the cinnamon in this recipe, and he loved it. Now the other thing I'm going to show you, instead of rolling this first and cutting second, we're going to cut first because I think it makes the dough easier to roll and keep its shape, a nice round shape, whereas rolling it first and then trying to cut it, you're going to squish the dough. So I'm going to do this into 12 even strips. I'm going to just start in the middle as best as I can. Okay, now we're just going to start at one end, and we are going to start to roll these up. And the dough may want to come apart on you just a little bit, but just keep rolling until you have a nice round dough. All right, we are ready to go into the oven. Bring you in. Can you see these? They look good, don't they? All right, I'm gonna put these in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes. I would say start checking them at 20 minutes in your oven, but I know in my oven at 350 degrees, it takes them 25 minutes. All right, guys, we will come back when these are done. Let's look in the oven and see how they're doing. They look perfect. Look how much they puffed up. All right, guys, we're gonna set these on the stove top and let them cool for just a few minutes. All right, guys, for this last little bit, you're gonna want 3 ounces of softened cream cheese, and you're gonna want 3 tablespoons of powdered stevia. So 1, 2, 3. With the hand mixer, you're simply gonna cream this together. And as soon as it's good and creamy, we'll put 3 tablespoons of almond milk and about a half teaspoon, I would like to use the vanilla cream stevia, about half a teaspoon of that, and then continue mixing until it is nice and smooth. Now guys, you can either pipe or just take a knife and spread the icing over each of these cinnamon rolls. And guys, these are crazy good. I mean, I would put these up against any wheat cinnamon roll any day of the week. They truly are amazing. All right, the only thing left to do is to give this a taste. There are no words to tell you how good these are. So guys, give these a try. If you do, please come back here, comment, and let me know what you think. I will have the ingredients posted below. I will also have a link to the blog post that has the very specific instructions along with pictures. That's all I have for you today. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you on the next video.